Picture this. You're at brunch with your friends. Everyone's ordering the $20 avocado toast, the overpriced mimosas, the fancy eggs Benedict that costs way more than it has any right to. And they're all talking about how broke they are, how they can't seem to get ahead financially, how they're living paycheck to paycheck despite making decent money. Meanwhile, you're sitting there realizing something they haven't figured out yet. The gap between them and actual wealth isn't some mysterious secret reserved for trust fund kids or lottery winners. It's not some complicated stock market scheme or real estate hack you need to spend 6 months learning about. The gap between them and wealth is simply sacrifice. Specific sacrifices. The kind of sacrifices that hurt in the moment but compound into life-changing results over time. Most people aren't willing to make these sacrifices, which is exactly why most people never build real wealth. I spent an unhealthy amount of time thinking about money, behavioral psychology, and why some people manage to build genuine financial independence while others stay stuck in the same pattern forever, constantly stressed about their bank accounts. If you want to understand what it actually takes to build wealth and you're willing to hear some uncomfortable truths about the sacrifices that are necessary, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button if this helps shift how you think about money and what you're willing to give up to get ahead. Now here's the thing that nobody wants to hear. Building wealth isn't about finding some clever hack. It's not about side hustles or passive income schemes or cryptocurrency or whatever trend is viral on social media this week. Building wealth is fundamentally about being willing to sacrifice things that other people aren't willing to sacrifice. It's about watching your friends enjoy things while you choose a different path. And the 10 sacrifices I'm about to share with you aren't just random suggestions. They're the foundational choices that every wealthy person has made at some point in their life. These are the decisions that separate the people who talk about getting rich from the people who actually do it. The first sacrifice you have to make is the sacrifice of immediate gratification. And I know this sounds obvious, but most people don't actually understand what this means on a practical level. It's not just about skipping the expensive coffee or not buying the latest phone. It's about completely rewiring how you think about pleasure and reward. When you decide to build wealth, you're essentially saying no to thousands of small dopamine hits that most people are constantly chasing. You're watching everyone around you upgrade their phones every year while you keep yours for 3 years. You're seeing your coworkers go on exotic vacations while you're spending your vacation at home doing yard work and working on side projects. You're at the store looking at a shirt you like and knowing that impulse purchase represents money that could be working for you in an investment account earning returns. This sacrifice isn't just about having less fun. It's about accepting that fun for you looks fundamentally different than fun for other people. And here's the psychological part that makes this hard. Your brain is wired to want immediate rewards. Neuroscience shows that the part of your brain that processes immediate gratification is much more active and influential than the part that thinks about long-term consequences. So when you're walking through a store or scrolling through social media, your immediate gratification circuits are firing on all cylinders, pushing you toward the purchase. The people who build wealth aren't people with superhuman willpower. They're people who've structured their lives so they don't have to fight this battle constantly. They delete their shopping apps. They unfollow influencers who make expensive purchases look aspirational. They make purchases difficult so their immediate gratification impulses have time to fade. The sacrifice of immediate gratification means accepting that you're going to feel left out sometimes. You're going to feel like you're missing experiences your friends are having. And that's uncomfortable. But that discomfort is the price of admission to financial independence. The second sacrifice is the sacrifice of convenience. This one hits different because convenience is embedded into every aspect of our modern lives. We've got food delivery apps, laundry services, grocery delivery, car washes, cleaning services, meal prep companies. And they all cost money. Sometimes not a huge amount individually, but collectively, they drain thousands of dollars annually from people who think they're just making small choices. The sacrifice of convenience means doing things yourself, even when you don't want to. It means cooking at home instead of ordering delivery. It means actually grocery shopping and meal planning instead of having someone else do it for you. It means washing your own car instead of going to a professional. It means cleaning your own house instead of hiring a cleaning service. And look, I'm not going to tell you that you can never use any of these services. But the people who build wealth understand that every convenience purchase is a trade-off. That $30 meal delivery isn't just $30. Over a year, if you're doing that twice a week, that's over $3,000. $3,000 that could be in your investment account growing at 8% annually. When you compound that over decades, that $30 meal delivery actually costs you tens of thousands of dollars in lost investment growth. The psychological challenge with sacrificing convenience is that convenience is addictive. Once you get used to paying someone else to do something you don't feel like doing, going back to doing it yourself feels like punishment. Your brain starts telling you stories like, I deserve this, I work hard, I'm worth paying for convenience. And in a sense, you are worth it. But you're worth even more when you're financially independent and don't have to work for someone else anymore. The sacrifice of convenience means being willing to spend your time instead of your money. Time is one of the few resources that wealthy people actually value more than money, because you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. The third sacrifice is the sacrifice of social status. This is probably the most underrated sacrifice because it's not about money directly, but it affects how you spend money more than almost anything else. We live in a society that judges people based on what they own and display. Your car, your clothes, your phone, your apartment, your vacations. All of these signal to other people whether you're successful or not. And here's where the trap gets really insidious. Most people make financial decisions specifically to signal status to people they barely know or don't even like that much. You buy an expensive car you can't afford so people at work think you're successful. You get designer clothes and bags so people on social media think you have money. You travel to expensive destinations and post pictures so your acquaintances think your life is exciting. The wealthy people I know, they've completely opted out of this game. They drive reliable used cars. They wear clothes that are comfortable and functional rather than trendy. They take vacations that are personally meaningful rather than Instagram worthy. They live in houses that are appropriate for their situation rather than houses that signal wealth to neighbors. The psychological reason this is so hard is that status seeking is deeply ingrained in human psychology. We evolved in small tribes where status within the tribe affected your actual survival and reproductive opportunities. Now we live in a world with millions of people we don't know personally, but our brains still treat social signals as if they matter for our survival. So when you see someone wearing expensive designer clothes or driving a luxury car, some part of your brain is telling you that you need to compete or else you'll be seen as lower status. The sacrifice of social status means accepting that some people will think less of you financially than they might otherwise. It means driving a Honda Civic while your neighbor drives a new Mercedes. It means buying clothes at regular stores instead of luxury brands. It means having a normal apartment instead of trying to max out your housing situation. And yeah, some shallow people might judge you for it, but the wealthy people aren't worried about what shallow people think because they're building something that actually matters. The fourth sacrifice is the sacrifice of lifestyle inflation. When most people get a raise, what do? They spend more. They upgrade their apartment, their car, their wardrobe, their restaurant budget. They get a bigger apartment and suddenly need to furnish it. They buy a nicer car, and now they're spending more on gas and insurance and maintenance. They start eating at fancier restaurants because they feel like they deserve it. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the primary reasons why people who make a lot of money end up with almost no savings. The sacrifice of lifestyle inflation means that when your income goes up, you resist the urge to upgrade everything in your life. You stay in the same apartment even though you could afford a nicer one. You keep the same car even though you could buy a newer model. You maintain the same restaurant budget even though your paycheck is bigger. This sounds depressing, but here's what actually happens when you do this. If you get a $10,000 raise and you invest that entire $10,000 instead of spending it, that money grows. Over 20 years at 8% returns, that $10,000 becomes over $46,000. If you get a raise every few years and you consistently invest those raises instead of spending them, the wealth compounds dramatically. Most people can't imagine not upgrading their lifestyle when they have more money, but that's exactly the mindset that separates wealth builders from everyone else. The entertainment and enjoyment sacrifice also means being intentional about how you spend your free time. Entertainment costs money. Going out to bars, concerts, movies, all of these things add up. The wealthy people I know don't skip all entertainment, but they're incredibly selective about it. They understand the real cost of their entertainment choices. That $50 concert ticket isn't just $50. It's $50 that could grow to hundreds of dollars over decades. So they go to concerts occasionally, but they're strategic about which ones they attend rather than saying yes to everything. The fifth sacrifice is the sacrifice of social dining in restaurants. I'm separating this from general entertainment because food and dining seems to be where people hemorrhage money most consistently without even realizing it. The average American household spends over $200 per month eating out. That's over $2,400 per year on restaurant meals. And this isn't even counting food delivery apps. When you add in delivery, it's probably closer to $3,000 or $4,000 annually for the average person. The sacrifice of cooking at home instead of eating out is massive, not just financially, but psychologically. Restaurants are convenient. You don't have to plan meals, you don't have to cook, you don't have to clean up. Someone else does all of it and brings you food. This is incredibly appealing when you're tired after work or it's the weekend and you want to relax. But here's the reality of that cost. If you're spending $3,000 a year on restaurants and you direct that money to investments instead, over 40 years that $3,000 becomes over $800,000. Let me say that again. $3,000 in annual restaurant spending turns into $800,000 in lost wealth if you instead invested it. That's not including the money you save on groceries, because home cooking is actually cheaper per meal than restaurants. The psychological sacrifice here is accepting that you're going to make and eat food at home most of the time. You're going to become familiar with your kitchen. You're going to meal prep on Sundays. You're going to eat similar things more often. You're going to spend time cooking when other people are relaxing. But while they're eating out and wondering where their money goes, you're quietly building wealth. The sixth sacrifice is the sacrifice of premium subscriptions and recurring charges. This one is subtle but devastating to people's finances. You subscribe to a streaming service for $9 a month, then another one and another one. Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Apple TV, Paramount Plus, Amazon Prime, Spotify, Apple Music, gym memberships, meditation apps, productivity apps, news subscriptions. Each one seems small individually. $9 here, $15 there. But when you add them all up, the average person is spending over $300 monthly on subscriptions. That's over $3,600 per year. And most people couldn't name half the subscriptions they're paying for because they're on auto-renew and they forget about them. The sacrifice of cutting subscriptions means being intentional about what you actually use and value. It means accepting that you're going to get less entertainment than you could potentially access. It means picking maybe one or two streaming services instead of having access to all of them. It means canceling the gym membership you're not using and working out at home instead. It means removing apps from your phone that are designed to get you to spend money continuously. The psychological challenge with subscription services is that they're designed by some of the smartest people in the world to be addictive and hard to cancel. The companies make it easy to subscribe and difficult to unsubscribe. They use dark patterns and psychological tricks to make you feel like you need them. Breaking free from this requires intentional effort and resistance to the manipulative design. But when you do, you suddenly have thousands of dollars annually that can go toward actual wealth building instead of lining the pockets of tech companies. The seventh sacrifice is the sacrifice of convenience purchases and impulse buying. We live in a world of one-click purchasing. Amazon Prime means something can be at your door in 2 days. Target has apps and online shopping. Every store has easy checkout. This convenience has fundamentally changed how we buy things. Most people impulse buy constantly without even realizing it. You see something, you like it, you buy it immediately without considering whether you actually need it. These impulse purchases are how people end up with closets full of clothes they never wear, drawers full of gadgets they never use, and shelves full of stuff they forgot they owned. The sacrifice of impulse buying means implementing systems that slow down your purchasing decisions. Some wealthy people have a rule, where they wait 30 days before making any discretionary purchase over a certain amount. This gives their impulsive brain time to realize they don't actually need the thing. Some people remove their credit card information from websites so they can't one-click purchase. Some people uninstall shopping apps entirely. The key is making it harder to buy things impulsively. When you do this, you realize how many purchases you are going to make that you don't actually need. According to studies, the average person returns about 30% of their online purchases. That means 30% of their money was wasted on things they didn't actually want or need. The sacrifice here is the convenience of easy purchasing. It's accepting that buying something is going to take more effort. You're going to have to actively choose to purchase instead of being able to do it passively. But when you make purchasing intentional rather than impulsive, your spending drops dramatically. The eighth sacrifice is the sacrifice of expensive and unnecessary health and wellness spending. Now, I'm not suggesting you avoid healthcare. Obviously, your health is important and actually deserves investment, but most people spend way too much on fitness and wellness things they don't actually need. Expensive gym memberships, personal trainers, supplements, fancy yoga studios, meditation apps, wellness retreats. People spend thousands of dollars on these things often without seeing any real results. The sacrifice of expensive fitness means understanding that you don't need fancy equipment or expensive gyms to be healthy and fit. You don't need a personal trainer to know how to exercise properly. You don't need premium supplements to eat well and support your body. You can work out at home with minimal equipment or even just body weight exercises. You can follow free workout videos on YouTube from legitimate trainers. You can walk or run outside completely free, and it's often better than a gym anyway. You can eat well by cooking at home, which you're already doing because of sacrifice number 5. The wealth builders aren't avoiding fitness, they're just being strategic about it. They understand that expensive fitness often comes with psychological hooks that make you feel like you're doing something without actually doing the work. When you pay a lot for a gym membership, your brain sometimes feels like you've already accomplished something just by having the membership. But the expensive membership doesn't make you fit. The actual workouts make you fit. So you might as well do the workouts at home for free. The psychological challenge here is that the fitness industry is built on selling you the idea that fitness is complicated and requires expert help and expensive equipment. The sacrifice means accepting that fitness is actually simple and you can do it on your own with minimal resources. The 9th sacrifice is the sacrifice of convenience in transportation and vehicle choices. The average American spends nearly $10,000 annually on car-related expenses. That includes the car payment, insurance, gas, maintenance, and parking. For someone trying to build wealth, this is often the biggest category after housing. The sacrifice here isn't necessarily giving up your car entirely, but being very intentional about what car you drive and how long you keep it. A new car loses about 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. You're immediately losing money on a depreciating asset. It's one of the worst financial decisions most people make. The wealth builders drive reliable used cars that are several years old. They buy cars that are a few years old with decent mileage on them. They drive them for a very long time. They maintain them properly so they last. They avoid the financial trap of always wanting a new car with the latest features. This sacrifice means accepting that you might be driving a car that's not the latest model. Your car might have more mileage on it. It might not have all the newest features like heated seats or the fancy infotainment system, but you're not hemorrhaging money on a depreciating asset. When you drive the same car for 10 years and maintain it well, you save tens of thousands of dollars compared to someone who gets a new car every few years. The psychological resistance here is strong because car companies spend billions of dollars making new cars seem desirable and necessary. They create the sense that your current car is outdated and inadequate. They use aspirational marketing to make you want to upgrade. Resisting this requires accepting that your car's primary function is reliable transportation, not status signaling to people who don't actually care about your vehicle anyway. The 10th and final sacrifice is the sacrifice of frequent experiences and entertainment activities. This is the hardest sacrifice for most people because it feels like you're not living life if you're not having exciting experiences. Your friends are going on vacations, going to concerts, doing weekend trips, going out constantly, and you're at home or doing low-cost activities. This feels restrictive. This feels like you're missing out. The sacrifice of entertainment spending doesn't mean you never do anything fun or that your life becomes boring. It means being very intentional about which experiences you prioritize and when you do them. It means understanding that every dollar spent on entertainment is a dollar not working for you in compound interest. Someone who travels 2 weeks a year spending $5,000 annually on vacations is spending $5,000 that could grow to over $50,000 over decades in investments. The wealth builders don't skip all vacations or experiences. They just do fewer of them, and they're more intentional about them. They take one nice vacation every couple of years instead of multiple vacations per year. They do free or low-cost activities locally instead of constantly going out. They say no to most social invitations that cost money. They understand that experiences aren't limited to expensive ones. Some of the best memories come from simple things. The psychological challenge here is the fear of missing out. FOMO is a real psychological phenomenon, and it's amplified by social media, where you're constantly seeing what everyone else is doing. The sacrifice means accepting that you will actually be missing out on some things. Your friends will have experiences you're not having. They'll go places you're not going. They'll post pictures from locations you haven't visited, but they'll also end up broke at retirement while you'll have financial freedom. That's the actual trade-off. So there you have it. 10 sacrifices that are necessary if you actually want to build real wealth. And I know what you're thinking right now. This sounds miserable. It sounds like denying myself everything good in life. It sounds restrictive and joyless. But here's the thing that changes everything. These sacrifices aren't permanent. They're not something you do forever and ever. They're something you do for a period of your life while you're building your financial foundation. Once you hit your financial goals, once you've got significant wealth built up, you can relax some of these sacrifices. You can afford to eat out more frequently. You can buy nicer things. You can travel more often. You can subscribe to more services. You can go out more. The difference is that you're choosing to do these things from a position of abundance instead of doing them from a position of desperation. The wealthy person who spends money on experiences is in a completely different psychological place than the broke person who spends money on experiences to feel better about their situation. The wealthy person is choosing to spend money on something they value. The broke person is spending money they don't have on things that don't matter just to feel like they're living and keeping up with everyone else. The real sacrifice isn't denying yourself things. The real sacrifice is being willing to be different from the people around you. It's being willing to stay home when your friends go out. It's being willing to drive an older car when your neighbors buy new ones. It's being willing to cook at home when everyone around you is eating at restaurants. It's being willing to have a different relationship with money and consumption than the culture around you is promoting. Most people aren't willing to make this sacrifice. They want to be wealthy, but they're not willing to be different, so they stay broke, they stay stressed. They stay stuck in the pattern of working hard without getting ahead financially. But if you're willing to make these sacrifices for a few years or a decade while you're building your wealth foundation, everything changes. You escape the paycheck to paycheck cycle. You stop worrying about unexpected expenses. You build actual financial security. You get to a point where you don't have to sacrifice anymore because your money is working for you. That's the goal. That's what all these sacrifices are building toward. Not a life of permanent deprivation, a life of eventual freedom.